Hello. So, congratulations. You have almost finished your second semester of first year law school classes. Classes end tomorrow. And it is a major accomplishment. I know you still have exams and maybe you're still working through some of the makeup material, but for the most part, you have done it. You have arrived. And so you should give yourselves a hearty congratulations, especially given that you've done it through fairly strenuous and arduous circumstances the last several weeks. So take a moment to acknowledge all that you have done. And then, of course, we turn our attention to the exam. And so this recording gives you some overview of the exam, some of which we have talked about before, some of which may be new, or at least maybe new to some of you, but I want to reinforce the information. I'll also talk a little bit about exam preparations or review, and then have a few tips since none of you have had an exam with me before. I'll give you a few hints as to things that I like and don't like. So first, with respect to exam details, I'm going to talk a little bit about the format, about distribution and collection, timing, and the honor code. So first, as to format, as you well know, this is an open book, open note, take-home exam. It will consist of short answer and essay questions. There will not be any multiple choice questions. There will be a page limit. And although this is not an in-class timed exam, my expectation is that anyone can, if circumstances go well, complete the exam within 3 hours to a high quality. So I'm not writing a week-long take-home. I'm not writing a 48-hour take-home. I'm writing what I hope to be a 3-hour exam that you can complete to a high level. So given that it's a take-home exam, two questions naturally arise. The first is, well, what materials can I use? And the second is, well, what materials am I not permitted to use? So in terms of what you are permitted to use, you can use your assigned textbook, any personally prepared class materials, including notes, any outlines or other study materials you have created over the course of the semester. You may use any materials I have provided to you during the course of the semester. So that would include PowerPoints and the audio recordings and any of the information you may find on TWEN, including supplemental information. But what I am doing is evaluating your thinking, not that of any other source or any other material. So there are some items and forms of assistance that are off limits. So you may not receive any outside assistance from a third party of any kind from anywhere. You may not use commercial materials, and that would include the Dressler supplement that is recommended but not required for the course. You may, if you have incorporated information from any of those commercial study materials or online materials or someone else's outline, you may use that, but you may not use any commercially prepared materials such as a supplement or a treatise or a horn book. You may use commercially prepared materials if it's provided to you through TWEN. So for example, some of those overview videos I gave you links to, you can use the information in that. You may not conduct any outside research. So there's no need to go looking on Google or Westlaw or Lexis. Everything you need has been taught to you or will be contained in the exam. So please just keep that in mind. I am not trying to add any extra layer of stress. There is no need to be looking for any other source or information or doing any research to complete the exam. Doing that is not going to give you any added benefit over and above anyone else. So also, I expect that you will not talk with anyone about the exam prior to May 13th at 5 p.m., which, as I'll talk more about, is when all exams must be submitted. Do not discuss the exam or your answers or your experience taking the exam with anyone during the exam period. Do not share any information about or copies of the exam or your answers with anyone during the exam period. Do not circulate any information to anyone in any way, whether directly or online or through digital communications or even snail mail or any other means. All right. The goal is to keep the information as confidential as long as possible so that everyone has a fair chance to complete the exam on his or own accord without any outside assistance or undue influence. Okay. So I know you all can adhere to those rules. A little bit about distribution and collection. So it's a take-home exam that, as I've mentioned previously, will be both distributed and collected through Twin. You will use your anonymous ID to download the exam from Twin. A few other hints or requests. Please place your anonymous ID number on the top of each page of your exam answers. Please include page numbers on each page of your exam answers. And then when naming and saving your document, please use your anonymous ID number, not your name or any other self-identifying information in the file name. As an added layer of security, my assistant will be downloading all of the exams and providing them to me in hard copy. So please do not put any identifying information in the body of your exam answers. Timing. So this is a take-home exam that will be available on Twin on Tuesday, May 5th at noon. You can choose when you take the exam. Once you download the exam, you have up to 48 hours to complete and upload your answers. Once you download the exam, the clock starts ticking. There's no pause. There is no tolling. You have 48 hours to complete your exam and upload your answers. You do not have to use the entire 48 hours. Take as much or as little time within that 48-hour window. It's within your discretion. And again, remember, I am writing an exam that I expect that you could complete within 3 hours, but I'm giving you a 48-hour period of your choosing within a week-long window to allow flexibility based on individual needs and circumstances. The final deadline for submission of all exam answers is 5 p.m. on Wednesday, May 13th. So just a few timing examples. If you download the exam on May 5th at 3 p.m., you must upload your answers by 3 p.m. on May 7th. If you download the exam on May 11th at 11 a.m., you must upload your answers by 11 a.m. on May 13th. If you download the exam on May 13th at 8 a.m., you must upload your answers by 5 p.m. on May 13th. So notice in that last scenario, if you cut it short and you don't give yourself the complete 48-hour window and upload it a few days before May 13th, then you might be restricted. All exam answers must have been submitted at the latest by 5 p.m. on May 13th. If while taking the exam or preparing to take the exam, you have an emergency, personal, medical, or technical, please immediately contact Dean Beck or Casey Graham. Do not contact me. And I ask that you not contact me so that we can maintain your anonymity. If you contact either Dean Beck or Casey Graham, they will reach out to me without divulging your identity and let me know what's going on, and we'll work to develop a solution. Lastly, the honor code. The honor code does apply to this exam, even though it is a take-home open book, open note exam. By submitting your exam, you will be confirming that you have not violated the honor code and that you have not become aware of any honor code violations by anyone else. If you become aware of a potential honor code violation, please report that immediately to Dean Beck. He will handle the situation and inform me as necessary. Okay, so a little bit about exam preparation or review. We're not face-to-face in the building, so it's going to be a little bit hard for you to drop by my office. I won't have an official review session in the building, but this is what we're going to do. So you may post on Twin or email to me directly any questions you have about the material we've covered during the course of the semester. I will respond as quickly as I can given my constraints. If you email me directly and if it seems as if a few of you have this same or a similar question, then I may collect them all together and post an answer or answers on Twin. If you would like to set up a Zoom meeting or a phone call, whether individually or in a small group, I am happy to do that. If you would like to do that, please email me a list of 3 days and times when you or your group members are available, and hopefully one of those will work for me. I will let you know, and I can make the arrangements for a Zoom meeting or a phone call. So there is a cutoff for the questions and any meetings. I will not respond to any questions received directly or through Twin after 5 p.m. on May 4th. That's the day before the exam will be released. So if you email me at 4:50 on May 4th, 4:50 p.m. on May 4th with a question, then I will respond to you, even if it's a little bit after 5 or later after 5. If you send me a question directly or through Twin at 5:05 p.m. on May 4th, then I will not respond. You should also know that I will disable the Twin forums on May 5th at 10 a.m. The forums will still be visible, so all of the information and the questions that have previously been posted before May 5th at 10 a.m. will be visible to you, and you can use them during the exam, but neither you nor I will be posting anything after they are disabled. And so then let me say a little bit about example questions for review. This week, I plan to post some questions, probably about Wednesday or so. I will post them on Twin. They will be helpful for you in reviewing the material, though you should be aware that they will not be precisely the same format as you see on the exam because they were written for normal, non-pandemic circumstances. All right, and so the exam might be a little different because of these extraordinary circumstances, but they will still be helpful for reviewing the course material. And also know that you have plenty of other sources to look to for problems. So whether those are the note problems in your textbook or whether those are problems from the PowerPoint slides or that I posed to you during the course of the semester, you could also look to those particular problems for review. And I'm happy to answer questions about those as well. Okay, so the third topic for this audio recording is just a little bit about exam tips. What is it that I like or find helpful? What do I think students should do when writing their exam answers, and what pitfalls should they avoid? So here are a few in no particular order, but I think all are highly important. So the first is read the facts closely. And here I also mean to highlight that you shouldn't assume a fact is irrelevant. Many of the facts I put into a problem can be used in some way to further your analysis. But do not read more into the facts than written. Avoid drawing unsupported factual inferences, which is not the same as drawing an inference to make an argument. So read the facts closely. Assume each fact is relevant for some particular matter. I don't do red herrings. Do not read more into the facts than written, right? That does not mean that you can't draw rational or logical inferences to make your arguments. So for example, if the fact pattern indicates that the defendant drank alcohol, that does not necessarily infer the defendant was drunk. So avoid drawing the conclusion that the defendant was drunk. If you do draw that conclusion, then you should indicate such in your answer, but realize that you may need to answer or analyze without that fact having been assumed. Another scenario, assume that the fact pattern says that the defendant was drunk. This does allow an inference that defendant's thinking or physical mobility was impaired. That would be a permissible, logical inference to draw from the fact that the defendant was drunk. And so you can argue that if relevant. Second tip, read questions closely and answer the question asked. Don't answer what you think was asked, what you think should have been asked, what you think has been asked before, what you wish was asked, what you would like to answer, or what would be the answer based on some other subject area, like torts. All right, so read the questions closely and answer the question asked. Be aware that I might take an issue off the table or tell you expressly what law or theory to apply. In those instances, you do not usually get credit for answering a different question or including extra information, and you might just be wasting valuable time by including that information. So read closely and determine the question that is asked and answer that question. Third tip, assume your reader, me, knows nothing. So that means you need to explain yourself, show your analysis. Remember long division by hand? Remember those algebra and geometry proofs? That's what you're doing here, except we're using text. Show your analysis. Take me through it step by step. Your conclusion you should have, but it is not as important as your analysis. Your analysis is the meat of your answer. You get fewer points if you do not show your work. So, assume I know nothing, tell me everything, explain why your conclusion is the logical conclusion. Number 4, outline your answers. And here, you'll have plenty of time to outline. But the point of outlining is to ensure that you hit as many issues as possible and in a precise and organized fashion. All right, this is a way to ensure that you don't forget something that you might have wanted to answer or wanted to say. So you can go back and look at your outline and make sure you hit every point. It's also a way to avoid the inclination to brain dump. Recall, I said answer the question asked. All right, don't go off on tangents that might be interesting, but don't directly answer the question. So if you briefly outline your answer, then you will be sure to avoid the brain dump. And then as well, outlining helps you organize. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, but an organized exam is easier to grade than a disorganized exam. And so outlining helps you organize your thinking, and as well, outlining helps you organize your answer. Number 5, use IRAC, track, or CRAC, or whatever you're calling it. And the emphasis should be on the R and the A, the rule and the analysis. Know your rules cold, write them completely and accurately. Do not paraphrase the rule or leave out parts. You might leave out an essential element. After you state a complete and accurate rule, apply the facts to the rule. This is your analysis. It is the most significant part of your answer. Just stating the rules will only get you a mediocre grade, and bare bones analysis will only get you a mediocre grade. Do not simply rehash or regurgitate the fact pattern. The fact pattern will be available to me. I don't need you to rehash the fact pattern. That is not analysis. Do not be conclusory. So causation is clearly established here is a conclusory statement. Don't do that. Tell the reader what facts prove satisfaction or dissatisfaction of the rule or the elements and why. Why? Okay, so I think we're up to number 6. Do not apply your own law or theories. So do not apply material we didn't cover in the course, but that you took it upon yourself to study, unless I ask you to do so, unless I provide you with some other theory. Otherwise, don't do it. Don't apply your own law or theories. Do not get creative and make up your own law or theories unless you are asked to do so. Apply the rules and the laws and the theories that we studied in the course of the semester. Use your common sense. Answer the questions based on what you were taught in the course of the semester. If you have additional information, that will be nice, but it won't necessarily get you a better grade because I am assessing your performance on what we learned in the course of the semester, from the materials that we studied, from the conversations that we had. All right. We're coming up on the last 3 points. So you should acknowledge and address significant weaknesses and arguments. So the quality of your analysis depends on the ability to foresee or anticipate weaknesses or counter arguments, especially with strong ones. So if they're relatively minor, then maybe you answer them or address those counter arguments if you have time. But if they are significant counter arguments, and by significant I mean something that would completely or almost completely undermine your conclusion or your analysis, then you need to respond. All right. So often I get the question, do we have to raise counter arguments? Well, yes. If the counter argument is going to significantly undo your logic, your reasoning, your rationale, then yes, you have to respond to it, because that might suggest that your reasoning was flawed. So do not ignore major weaknesses or counter arguments. Second to last tip, write well. So this does not have to be your best English paper that you've rewritten, and edited and then rewritten. All right. But you have the time and you should do your best to use proper grammar, spelling, and punctuation. You should use paragraphs, keep your language simple, avoid unneeded jargon. Don't try to be cute. Do use proper legal terminology for this course, criminal law. So the point here is do not make your reader, me, struggle to figure out whether you know what you're talking about. I realize that you've got some constraints and maybe some distractions, but better writing overall results in a better grade. And you will have a little bit of extra time here to do that. So please take that time and at least do some basic editing and some basic organization. That will help me and help you in the future when I'm grading. Okay, final hint, which is you should attempt to answer all the questions. All right. So the best exams adequately discuss all or most of all of the issues, right? There shouldn't be a reason here why you should sacrifice answering a question. We aren't under those time constraints that you ordinarily would be in an in-class timed exam. So you should attempt to answer all the questions to the best of your ability, and give a high quality answer for each question. Don't cut yourself short because you feel like you just can't figure it out or you don't have enough time. You do. I'm writing a 3-hour exam. I'm giving you 48 hours, and you can choose your timing. And so hopefully the goal is that everyone will find a way to be able to complete the exam to the best of their ability, given all of the personal and technical and life and medical and emotional, all those concerns we have right now. So here we are. This is my last spiel about exam details and exam preparation and exam tips. If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns, if I missed something, which I very well could have, please let me know by emailing me or sending me a message on Twin, and we'll get it taken care of. So, as mentioned, look out this week for some practice problems, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.